I could have wrecked my Steam Deck forever. That's because later in this video, I dropped my Steam Deck on the floor intentionally. What kind of monster am I? Well, the kind that is willing to put his Steam Deck on the line to test the Killswitch. No, not that Killswitch. This Killswitch. This is the suite of new premium accessories from Dbrand. You know, the folks that got the cease and desist order from... Never mind, that's old news. We're here to talk about this thing. Project Killswitch is a set of accessories for the Steam Deck that have been in development since before the Steam Deck launched. And now that it's finally here, I'm going to give you my hands-on impressions. and let you know if the wait has been worth it. I'm going to test a few key things. Does the case substantially change the weight or access to any buttons or ports? Is the kickstand actually useful? How protective is this case really, and does the screen protector make the touchscreen worse, and do the stick grips still allow for capacitive touch? I'm going to test all that. But first, shout out to Dbrand for sending me the Killswitch early and for sponsoring this video. I've been wanting to work with Dbrand forever, and they gave me a chance to bring you this appraisal of Project Killswitch. Before we get started, drop a like for the algorithm, and if you're new here, then consider subscribing. Alright, let's get into it. First, let's talk about what's for sale. The Essential Kit is $60 and comes with the Killswitch grip case, a choice of skin, and that's a complete set including left and right skins as well as skins for the trackpad. And the last item included with the Essential Kit is the magnetic kickstand attachment. The Deluxe Kit has everything from the Essential Kit, but also includes a travel cover and one pair of black stick grips. You can get the Deluxe Kit for $75 US total. As a bonus, there are these Portal themed stick grips, but they're limited in quantity and will go to reservations first. They're not available separately, and though Dbrand has thousands of these, it sounds like they're going to go fast. Finally, as an add-on, you can purchase the tempered glass screen protector. 2 pieces of glass come in each box, and these are fully touch capacitive and compatible with the etched glass on the 512GB Steam Deck. Alright, let's unbox this stuff. I've already mentioned that the screen protector is sold separately. The actual packaging is really nice, like the Steam Deck logo is subtle, and there's a small magnet holding the door down. As I've mentioned, there's 2 pieces of tempered glass in there, but in addition to that, there's a microfiber cloth, a wet and dry cleaning wipe, a sticker for picking up the last bits of remaining dust, and a squeegee for getting rid of bubbles. Pretty standard stuff for a screen protector. We're going to install this first, but before we do, let's take a quick look at the other parts. I have the Deluxe Kit and everything is in one nice package. I like the way the box opens. Again, a very nice detail. On one side is the skin, and this is interesting, right? The skin only covers the portion of the Steam Deck that's exposed after you strap the case on. I think that alone goes a long way towards explaining why they're bundling the skin here. On the other side is the Killswitch grip case with the travel cover already attached. If you open this up, you see the stick grips are already in the case here. Dbrand were gracious enough to send me the Portal grips too, and they look lovely. With regard to the case itself, it has a bit of a gritty texture. So let's install this stuff. There's already a really good tutorial on the Dbrand YouTube page, so check that out for instructions on how to install everything here. And rather than go over that again in full, I'm just going to give you a sexy montage of me installing everything. Ready? Here it goes. Alright, now with everything on the Steam Deck, I can give you some first impressions. I think the installation or application process went pretty smoothly. The instructional video from Dbrand makes it really clear. I like that it went over how to apply the skin so it doesn't bunch in a corner. You definitely don't want to bunch it because the case is really snug on the Steam Deck. If you follow their steps though, it's a breeze. Also, with regard to the skin, I love the feeling of it. This is the ultra matte teardown, and it's very soft to the touch and not at all slippery. I also just love anything that shows off the internals of a device, so this teardown theme was the one for me. But they've got all sorts of choices, including their trademark robot camo, a whole assortment of colors and textures, and even a leather option. Like I said, the case is really snug. There's very little give on anything in here. The top lip is really the only area where you can start to peel it back, and that's by design because you actually have to get the case off, right? It feels very sturdy, and I can kind of try bending it or knocking on it so you can sort of see how stocky the case is. The one thing to get used to is that all the top buttons on this port are a little sunken in now. The power button used to be flush, and now you have to kind of reach in. The shoulder bumpers were also flush, but now they sit behind this top lip of the case. And finally, the paddles. They used to sit a little raised from the surface, and now they're actually a tad more flush. We'll see how this actually plays in practice. Aside from that, everything is as it should be. All the vents are exposed, and there's plenty of clearance for larger USB-C cables. Without the kickstand, the magnetic circle is clean and unobtrusive. Attaching the kickstand is as simple as you would expect, but I did occasionally pull the entire kickstand off when I was trying to open it. If you kind of just pull on the kickstand itself, the whole attachment can come off. You kind of have to press against the top to make sure the attachment stays on. Still though, it's a fairly strong magnet. If I just grab the attachment by the two sides, I can pretty much pick up the entire Steam Deck just like this. Dbrand has teased some additional magnetic attachments in the future, and I can't wait to see what they do here. Personally, I'd like to see something that can hold a power bank or a hard drive or something like that. The stick grips are textured on top and ribbed on the sides, for your pleasure. There's not much to say about these. They feel great. These are the first analog stick caps I've seen that are specifically designed for the Steam Deck, and you can feel that by how snug they are. Finally, the travel cover. This completes a really sturdy shell for the Steam Deck. It's intended to serve as a replacement to the official Steam Deck case, so you can just throw it in your bag wherever you're going. It covers the shoulders and triggers as well as the exhaust vent, but leaves a port for charging. There's this lip on the bottom that helps for pulling the case off, but it also allows you to now stand up the Steam Deck without the kickstand. This cover has sockets for the pins that stick out from the case to complete a really tight, close-fitting design. The cover is extremely secure, and once again, I don't see a good way that they could have shipped a cover that worked without the case. These two definitely go hand in hand. Okay, so I'm going to run a few tests on this before I do any extended play sessions with this bad boy. Most of these tests are harmless, but there's one test I don't want to do, so I'm just going to have to rip off the band-aid.
You see now, that duck, that.
She's okay. She's all right. She's fine. I promise. She's okay. Okay, with that test out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff. A naked deck weighs 676 grams. A deck with the Essential Kit brings that weight up to 828, so the case essentially weighs about 150 grams. Moving up to the deluxe package with the travel cover, you get 927 grams. So that's about an additional 100 grams there. Dbrand went a long way to making sure the capacitive functionality still works with the stick grips on. They did this with both practical testing using Portal and empirical testing using an actual capacitive sensor testing apparatus, whatever that is. I can confirm that it works in my testing. I did find a literal and figurative edge case where if I hold the very edge of the analog stick, it doesn't register with the stick grip, but it does with the naked analog stick. I think this is unique to the way I was playing this game with Flickstick, and I highly doubt anyone else would run into the same issue. Steam Deck with the Killswitch still fits inside the Steam Deck case. Steam Deck with Killswitch and travel cover no longer fits in the Steam Deck case. Here's me playing Zachtronics Solitaire Collection on the touchscreen. Mind you, I think the touchscreen itself is not very good on the Steam Deck, but yeah, the screen protectors don't make it any worse, that's for sure. So what are my final impressions after having some longer sessions? Well, I've actually already had a week with the Killswitch, and here's how I feel. First, it's definitely a premium package, right? Not that anyone cares about packaging, but starting with that packaging, it's really, really good. And then the whole thing feels very intentionally designed for the Steam Deck. Nothing appears rushed in the development of this product to get it out to market as soon as possible. Everything feels extremely intentional down to the little details, like the ability to stand the deck up with the travel cover, or even just still being able to charge. The kickstand got very little use from me. I just didn't have a need for it. I never really play like that. For that reason, I like that it's detachable. More importantly, I'm wondering what else Dbrand has brewing and what other magnetic attachments they have coming. There's not much to say about the included skins, but I'll say that I like the feel of the Ultramat. Your preference might differ, but I especially like the Ultramat for the trackpad since I'm using those constantly. The case itself is excellent. I was a bit worried about the paddles, but they're not any harder to press than they used to be. I use a template in a shooter called Proteus that makes heavy use of these paddle buttons, like to jump for example, and I didn't have to think twice about it at all. It felt natural. Overall, I settled into the case nicely. It feels great in my hands, and I'm curious to see how the texture ages after months and years of use. But that's just it. I expect to get a lot of use out of this case, and I have no reason to remove it. The stick grips are a no-brainer. They feel awesome, and they'll protect the life of the analog sticks. Outside of that, I'd love to see some more colorways, and I hope that Dbrand are working on those too. The travel cover is a nice addition. I'm not traveling a lot, so this is another one that may not get a ton of use from me, but I'd much rather pack this slim profile into a bag than pack the whole Steam Deck case. As for the screen protector, I mean, it's exactly what you'd expect. The touchscreen works about as well as it always did, and you don't get any additional glare, and, well, you get a little protection for your screen. All in all, I think this is a package that's worth the time that Dbrand put into it, and more importantly, worth your money. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can't say how much of your hard-earned money it's worth to you, but I can say that this is a high-quality product and easily the best case I've used. As for my criticisms, if you don't travel, you may not need the cover, and if you don't need a kickstand, then that may feel superfluous too. But that's about the only criticism I can levy at this point. Dbrand sent this out to me, but I'm actually going to buy a second deluxe kit. I have a second Steam Deck that I use for testing, and I've wanted to let my kids use it from time to time, but I was a little more worried about them using it. With the protection that the Killswitch package offers, I feel a lot more amenable to letting them use that Steam Deck. That alone is worth it to me, and in that way, it may be the final death blow to the Switch in my house because that's what they currently use to play video games. Anyway, if you do decide to pick one of these up, then please use my link in the description so that Dbrand knows that FandaDeck sent you. Outside of that, drop a like, a subscribe, and maybe watch another one of my videos. Deck Gang out. Goodbye.